What do we know? What evidence do we have about how effective the booster is post 3 months?
Good morning, and thank you for talking this morning. So let's look at the facts first, because I think this is really an important point that's come out. So there is no immediate need to have the fourth booster vaccination, and that will, I'm sure, continue to be under review. The facts continue to be that if you're not vaccinated, severe disease and ITU admissions and death are much more likely. So let's clarify the first important thing is it is crucial that you have your first and second doses if you actually haven't had those, and have your third or booster vaccination dose in the first place. Some of the other facts that are coming through, and you've touched on staff absences, and it's really important that we are as fully vaccinated as a population as possible, because we've had increasing numbers of cases with this highly virulent Omicron. So we've had over 178,000 new cases, 229 deaths, and over 149, that was yesterday, and 149,000 deaths in total. We've got 1.3 million people who are suffering from long COVID, and we've had staff absences in the NHS that have gone up over 60% in a week just due to COVID. So although there are variation, obviously we've heard that the army is being drafted into London. We've got 24 hospitals that are declared critical incidents. So that signals that there are fears that priority services can't actually be delivered safely. So for example, that will be hospitals. Some hospitals are cancelling some routine operation lists. This has a really big impact. I'm a GP. If routine operations are cancelled, for example, if you've got a hip operation or a knee operation coming up, if they're cancelled, you get continued pay and you're continuing to come in to see your GP, or pharmacies. You've got ambulances that are having to queue outside. So we know that there are backlogs. And this means that lots of people are trying to get into the hospitals, but also people are trying to leave it. At the same time, if there aren't care home workers we've just heard the item on care home workers where people are off sick or potentially having to isolate, and the very important domiciliary carers that are trying to look after people in our community. I, for one, spent a long time over Christmas trying to help organise our teams, just find care workers that could look after some very terminally ill and very sick people in our communities, and that's because they're off sick or they're isolating. Staff are really deeply traumatised, I think, in having to have so much pressure on them, working over hours, and just there not being enough capacity in our hospitals to be able to cope with it, but also in our communities. I mean, we're having to cancel clinics at the last minute just because people are either having to self-isolate or they're off sick. And once one team member goes down, often we see that it's spreading throughout our teams, within the community and within the hospitals.